What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the video. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Now, I am super excited to be here behind the wheel of the 2025 Hyundai Elantra N. This one I have here is the 8-speed dual clutch. It is also available in a 6-speed manual. A huge thank you to Hyundai for sending me this Elantra N to keep for an entire week. And I am just so excited to be driving this. It is such a fun vehicle. So now let's get right into it. Starting off with the ride quality. Well, it's a sport suspension. It's electronically controlled. This has struts up in the front and independent multi-link in the rear. And with this being a sports sedan, it rides very low to the ground. And we're also riding on summer tires with a pretty low profile sidewall. The size of the sidewall is 35, so that is pretty small. This is not the kind of vehicle that you'd be looking for a smooth, floaty ride on. The suspension, it is quite stiff, and the road feel is very noticeably present, but that's kind of the whole point of this car. This is considered a performance car, and it certainly does drive like one. This is not your run-of-the-mill Elantra by any means. The ground clearance on this is rated at 5.5 inches, but the thing is that that's what Hyundai says, but when you actually look at it yourself, it looks a lot smaller. And especially out here in New Jersey with all the bumps and potholes we have, it is like a minefield. You really have to be careful trying to avoid messing up the front of the car. Also, with the low profile tires, very easy to hit a pothole too hard and blow out your tire. Harmonic noise from the tires, not overly loud, but there is a lot of vibration that does come in through the tires, and then the suspension accentuates that even more. And as far as noise, there's plenty of noise that does come in from the outside. I do have the sunroof cracked right now. That's so we can hear the exhaust. I'll talk more about that in a little bit. As you can hear, the engine and the exhaust do get quite loud. But you know what? That is the fun of it. Driving this car over the past week has had me giddy like a little kid. I honestly feel like I'm 8 years old again, playing with my remote control cars or playing PlayStation. And the most impressive overall thing about the package is just what you get for the money. It's a lot of performance for a very low cost. And on the topic of performance, let's talk about the powertrain setup. We have a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, puts out 276 horsepower, but it goes up to 286 when you use the N grin shift right here, and 289 pound-feet of torque. And as I said earlier, this is the one with the 8-speed wet dual clutch transmission, as opposed to the variant with the 6-speed manual. And that is paired with front-wheel drive, but with an electronic limited slip differential. And fuel economy ratings are combined 23 miles per gallon. That's 20 city and 27 on the highway. And we have various different drive modes, including this customizable N mode. You can see that come up. You can customize all the different parameters like the engine input, the steering, the suspension, transmission, the limited slip differential, stability control, and my personal favorite, the exhaust. And this has launch control, so you know Hyundai's not screwing around. And of course, we do have paddle shifters on the back of the wheel to shift manually. So that's N drive mode. We do have others, and they're pretty simplified. We have Eco, Normal, and Sport. Okay, I'm gonna open this back up a little bit. And you can customize the exhaust in N mode, but also within just the general settings, there's other things you can set it to. The different exhaust notes, you have sport, you have a rally car. So that's found under active sound design. Largest change gives you the loudest sound, and under advanced settings, you have sporty, high performance, TCR, and rally. Those are your different options for the exhaust. I have it on high performance. And finally, to put it into N mode, we have the shortcut button right here on the right side. You can see the gauge cluster change. And the main thing is you can hear the exhaust quite a bit louder now. This is rated at 4.7 seconds for 0 to 60. All right, gonna come to a complete stop, gonna brake torque it. We're gonna use N grin shift. So we hit N grin shift, get 20 seconds, brake torque. Man, the sound of the exhaust just makes this thing so much fun. The speed is most definitely there, albeit there is a lot of turbo lag at the start. So now the transmission. DCTs are known for being pretty abrupt with their shifting, and that is definitely the case here. It seems sometimes it's a little bit hard to predict when it's gonna shift, and I found, like in my personal experience, that made it a little bit difficult to use the paddle shifters. And as far as sound goes, the coolest part is when it backfires. And let me tell you, it is loud. So I'm gonna try to do it up here. Basically, when you let your foot off the accelerator right before it's about to shift into next gear, the backfire out of the exhaust, crazy. Oh, that is so much fun. You get the backfire, you get the turbo whistle, and all the other little pops and burbles. And another thing with the transmission I've noticed is that sometimes at the top of the RPM range that the torque gets a little bit too much for the front wheels to handle. Like right before it shifts into next gear, you'll get a little bit of torque steer and a bit of wheel spin too. But that's only when you're like really gunning it. And now we hear the exhaust and everything, but if I go into the drive mode selector and I put it to Eco, which is your most fuel efficient option and also your quietest option. So now when you put it in eco mode, you can still hear the exhaust a bit, but it's a lot more pedestrian. A lot more just like a typical commuter car. I mean, that is what the Elantra is at the end of the day. But in eco, it's just a lot more practical, especially if you're coming home late at night or leaving super early in the morning. You don't want to piss off your neighbors. It brings down the noise of the exhaust to an acceptable level. But when you have it in N mode with launch control on and N grin shift on, absolute menace to society. It is really impressive how they have tuned the exhaust. And fuel economy, 20 city, 27 highway. I don't think fuel economy is really a deciding factor for most of the people that would buy this. When you're buying a performance vehicle, you can't really expect any kind of decent fuel economy. You'll burn through gas a lot quicker than you realize. All right, and now it is time to take this thing out on the highway and hopefully not get into any trouble. So as I was saying earlier about the noise, we do get quite a bit coming from the outside. We do get a good amount of wind noise too coming from the tops of the windows. bumps and transitions in the road, you can feel them because, like I said, the suspension, it is quite stiff. Once you're already in motion and you put your foot down, you can feel a big boost of power right around 4,500 RPM. All right, let's do N grin shift one more time. So move over. I think it's unbelievable what Hyundai has been able to accomplish power-wise for such a low price, $37,000. Very engaging, very driver-focused. All right, so now this is the part where I typically test out the adaptive cruise control system, but unfortunately on this Elantra N, we don't have it. We do have lane centering assist and just a standard cruise control system, but for a car in 2025 to not have adaptive cruise, that's a bit disappointing. Now, this could be attributed to the fact that this has a manual variant, but there are manual cars that do have adaptive cruise control systems. They're not common, but they do exist. But just because they didn't put it in the system with the manual doesn't mean they should have stripped it away from the non-manual. I mean, adaptive cruise control has become a standard feature on most new cars at pretty much any price range, and it's been that way for like at least a good 5 years. So that is disappointing, but I will test out, I guess at the very least, the lane centering assist. All right, no hands. Still have to accelerate myself and brake. I mean, you could still use it like an old school cruise control system where it just stays locked in on one speed and you have to brake yourself. And it still gives you the nudge just like adaptive cruise would about keeping your hands on the wheel, which I don't really see why. If you're still putting in input on the brake and accelerator, the car should know that you're obviously still paying attention. So, I mean, I guess it's nice not having to steer, but I'm still doing everything else. It does a good job, though. I'll give it that. So yeah, adaptive cruise, non-existent. So if that's important to you, I guess that's something to keep in mind. This 2025 Hyundai Elantra N has an 8-speaker Bose audio system, so let's take a listen. I think it has a decent amount of power. I don't think it needs any more speakers, but I will say the actual tone quality and fidelity, not the best. I think the mid-range frequencies do sound a bit muddy, and the actual sound quality, to me, it almost feels like you're in a car that has a bass audio system. It's just lacking a bit of clarity. It has power like a proper upgraded audio system, but actual sound quality is just a little bit disappointing. So now we are out here at the back roads to test out the steering and the handling of the Elantra N. Now I have the steering on the tightest setting, and boy, let me tell you, it is tight. It is tight, it is heavy. Just makes the car feel so solid and planted. You can feel good feedback from it. Like, it's got substance to it, you know? And coming around these corners, amazing. Absolutely amazing. This is without a doubt the best handling front wheel drive car I've ever driven, period. So nice and tight, precise. Okay, places like this is where you come to drive this. This is the reason you buy this. And having your sunroof open so you can hear your cool exhaust in the back, you know, it's the little things in life, right? I like having to use a little bit of muscle to steer. A lot of cars today, the steering is just soulless. There's like no connection to the car. But this thing is a gem. So the MSRP of this 2025 Hyundai Elantra N is $37,070. To me, that is absolutely mind-blowing for the level of performance that you get. This is without a doubt the best brand new performance car that you can get for this kind of money. Trying to get a Civic Type R with 37 grand, good luck. And the fact that this one comes in a dual clutch and a manual, whereas the Type R is only manual, in the market, that definitely gives this the upper hand. Again, a huge thank you to Hyundai for sending me the Elantra N to keep for an entire week so that I can give you guys the most thorough review possible. This is by far the most fun I've had in any press car I've ever been sent. But please let me know your thoughts on the Elantra N down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please share with a friend and subscribe. It'll really help the channel grow. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any new videos. And be sure to follow at Optical Automotive on TikTok and Instagram, and check out the page on Facebook. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys later.